early weight transfer. It's difficult to write here. Yeah. So the first one will be his early weight transfer. Second will be his height of his ball placement. And then hopefully by changing both of that, his backswing becomes less tension, like less pull in his backswing. And the third one, if we have to change, will be the timing of when he moves his ball, the timing of his ball placement in relation to his speed. If the first two changes are not enough. Welcome to another video. So today, this video popped up in my recommendation, which is Michael Tang bowling release in slow motion. Should be a pretty recent one, so let's take a look at his game. But I only see back views of it. So I did look through this a little bit beforehand, and let's start here. Yep. So this one, I did look through it beforehand, so I do see that he has a delayed timing on release because we will see it. Maybe I can go through a better shot here. So usually first thing we take a look at, see whether the bowler has a delayed timing on release. So this is already in slow motion, it makes it a lot easier. So you can see that his feet kind of stops first before his swing comes down. Then let's fast forward it back a little bit. So we're going to try to pause at exactly where the feet has stopped. It's around here. So the feet has stopped here. Maybe I can... Okay, let's use this. Okay, so his feet has stopped here, but his hand is still before, that means it's still behind his feet. So there's delayed timing. That means his hand has enough time to actually make a turn. I don't think this is the exact moment that his feet stop. Let's try and find the exact moment that his feet stop. So when we're looking at timing, you want to spot where the feet stop sliding. It's still sliding here, so it's around here. Yeah. So it's around this moment. So his feet has stopped here, and his hand is still behind his feet. You can see that it hasn't reached the lowest point of his downswing yet. So there is delayed timing. Okay, and from here, it's going to do what we call a turn and lift release. So at this point where his feet has stopped, his fingers are still behind the ball. So you can see that his fingers here are behind the ball. And he's going to do a slight rotation to the side. That means he's going to rotate his fingers around here. And then he's going to lift up from here. So this is what we call a turn and then a lift to release. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, that's even at slow motion, it's fast. So you can see he turns here and he lifts here. So if we remember, his fingers was originally behind here, and then from behind, his fingers was originally around here, like around this part of the ball. So he's turned it into this part of the ball, right? So he has turned a few degrees, like maybe 1/5 of the ball. It's definitely not 1/4, because if it's 1/4, it'll be here to here. 1/8, about 1/8 of the ball. And he is gonna, yeah, lift from there. So let's like to go back a little bit. Yep, so he turns and then he lifts here. So you can see the lift here. So it's literally lifting the ball here. and let go. Yeah. So there's a turn and lift release. But what's interesting is that, like I mentioned before, I think most American players, the system that they are taught, they are quite early. They have early timing during their third step. So let's take a look back at their early timing. So even though he has delayed timing on release, Michael Tang actually his body system has early timing during the third step. That means let's take a look. So he walks 1, 2. So he places the ball, like I think they places the ball in the beginning of the second set. Okay. Let's see if I can find. He's really moving his ball. He's preparing to move his ball here. The actual placement starts here. So yeah. So he moves it when he begins his second step here. He starts moving his ball. So at the beginning of the second step. So that's pretty early. And let's look at when he's. So I think this is the point where his third step is in front. So how do we measure the timing in the third step? Is when the bowler's third step is in front. Their weight is relatively like in between their second and third step. So it's easier to see from a side, but we don't have a side view. But his ball, you can see that his ball is well behind his body. So at the third step, his timing is considered early. But he still managed to achieve his delayed timing on release. So how did he do that? What I am suspecting is that he is pulling up his swing. So he's actually artificially pulling up his swing. Maybe I can use a blue line. So he's artificially pulling up his swing from the bottom to the back. Because if we look at when he places his ball, like the height of which he places his ball, it logically doesn't have enough downward momentum in order to get such a high the height of the backswing that he managed to achieve. So he places his ball here. Okay. So he places his ball around this level, right? So technically, if you were to have a fully pendulum arm swing, a truly free swing, that means you're not using any force in your upswing, your ball should end up in the backswing, it should end up around here, in the same level, because that's the effects of a pendulum, right? We release the weight at level A, and if there's no external force, then if free swings, it should reach around level B in a truly unobstructed pendulum swing. But let's look at the height of which he goes to. So he pulls all his way to here. So his backswing has reached here instead. Yeah, I was using, yeah, his backswing has reached here instead, because this was where he placed his ball, and if it was a truly pendulum swing, it would have ended up around here. But instead, his backswing has ended in C. So that means he somehow did a huge pull in his backswing. So he artificially put his backswing up to make it go to this height, and by pulling it up, it somehow also delays his release timing. That's why he's able to get the delayed timing on release. But he is pulling his backswing up. So this is a part of his game that is not ideal. So if I'm gonna improve this bowler system, obviously we're gonna try and remove the pull. Because what happens when you have muscle in your swing, such as pulling of your backswing, is that you're gonna be inconsistent. Because even though in the normal bowling sense you pull your backswing every day, so your body should be used to it, right? But the issue is that when you do a pull, any sort of muscular movement is gonna inhibit your accuracy and your consistency. Like how does your body control the same amount of muscle pull on every single swing? simply can't, because your emotions also affects how much your muscles tense up. So let's say if you're like bowlers, like boxers, they like to listen to hyped up music to get them into the beat, like very fast-paced, fast-tempo music, so that they get their muscles like agitated. I believe probably, I mean, I'm not too sure for weightlifters, but it makes sense that if you listen to very high tempo music, you get your emotions up, your muscles will be more tense, more ready for action, and say. So, for example, if you are in a very stressful tournament environment, or if the pace of bowling is suddenly too fast, then your muscles will tense up as well. And especially in a very high pressure, like tournament final situation, the muscles are going to tense up. So what happens when your muscles overly tense is that your swing will retard. Because if your muscles are still tense here on your downswing, it's going to obstruct the motion of your downswing. And then if your muscles are more tense than normal, you're going to affect the speed of your pull. That means the speed is going to be different when you're in a tense situation. The speed of your backswing is going to be different. The height of your backswing might be different. You might pull more. Sometimes you might pull less. And obviously, when you are pulling, the direction of the backswing will change as well. Like maybe sometimes you will be sometimes you might be pulling your backswing a bit more towards this direction. Sometimes you may be pulling your backswing more towards this direction. So obviously having a tension in the system, in your bowling system, in your body when you're bowling is not a good thing. Okay, so that's clear. So now that we know that he's pulling his backswing, and yeah, so he pulls his backswing, then his downswing, I can't really see whether he accelerates his downswing, because this kind of tension is easier to observe when in real time. Because in real time you can see if something is accelerated, that means the bowler's body system uses muscle to try and speed up the swing or speed up the upswing or the downswing. You can see that it's very artificially accelerated. Like it doesn't seem natural. It doesn't seem like a ball just falling down. So I don't know whether he accelerates his downswing. I'm gonna be just guessing that maybe he doesn't accelerate that much of his downswing, because I think the Michael Tang's body system wants the delayed timing at the release, because with the delayed timing on release is how he generates the amount of lift that it has, and he generates quite a high amount of revolutions. You look at this is in slow motion, and you look at how fast this ball is revving up. So his rev rate is quite good, and his rev rate is made possible by having the delayed timing on release. But I mean, at a glance, if you were to say what would I, as a coach, if I have a bowler that has a similar bowling system to Michael Tang, what I'm gonna advise and what I'm gonna try and coach to improve it is first and foremost is to eliminate the early weight transfer, because he has early weight transfer as well. When we're talking about, see, his back is going down. So here his back is going down early. So there's early weight transfer, right? So if I were to try and coach it, I'm going to try and eliminate this early weight transfer. So his back is going down early. Yep, and it's still going down. So it's still going down as he places his ball. So from here, his back is more or less fixed, which is okay. So he stops going down around here, and the reason that I suspect the likely reason that his body doesn't keep going forward, because what happens in biomechanics when you have early timing is that your body will tend to keep going downwards as your feet keeps moving forward, because you started the body downward movement early. So by the loss of momentum, if there's no obstruction to this momentum, the body is going to keep moving down and down and down. So what keeps his body from moving down into the lane as it walks forward is his pulled backswing actually. Because like I mentioned earlier, there's an artificial pull in his backswing. So since he's pulling his backswing this way, so he has a force coming this way to balance out the force coming this way. So by pulling his backswing, he actually stops his body from going flat to the floor as due to the early timing. So we can also say that because of his early body movement, early timing of his upper body movement, it also forces him to have to pull his backswing in order to balance that force from the early timing here. So as a coach, if I have a student that has a similar body system, like Michael Tang, I'm gonna stop this. Gonna try and stop this, correct this early timing first. So what would be a good timing? Well, let's go back a bit. What would be a good timing? Good around here. So good timing for the body to move forward for one-handers. Because the upper body timing for two-handers and one-handers is slightly different. So for one-handers, it's usually when your ball reaches the bottom of the swing and your swing starts to go upwards. So there will be a good time where your body goes down, because you're going to balance a weight here with your body weight here. So you can see it balances. So there's one weight here and then there's the other weight here. So it balances out. So in the perfect biomechanics, not say perfect, but that's what we try to teach in a good bowling system. I mean, it's a good bowling body system. When the bowler's upper body should move forward for a one-handed bowler, I mentioned it's different for two-handed and a one-handed. For one-handed bowler should be when your ball is at the bottom of the swing and it's starting to go up, and then your body goes down as your ball goes up. So yeah, so we want to eliminate the early timing, and by eliminating the early timing as coach, then we will observe to see if the bowler is still doing this pulling motion of his backswing, because sometimes the interesting and the fantastic thing about correcting body biomechanics is that once you correct the source of an error, sometimes all the subsequent symptoms of the error or the consequences of the error will naturally disappear, because the bowler themselves, like Michael Tang himself, is not doing this with conscious thought. His body is all doing this subconsciously, because it's just what the laws of biomechanics is forcing his body to do. He just have to follow the laws of biomechanics. His body just has to follow it, because it's what feels natural. Because if he puts more conscious thought into interfering with his body systems, his bowling is going to get worse. It's going to be even more unnatural. So yeah, once you eliminate the early timing, hopefully we will eliminate the forced backswing as well. Then, but another reason why he is forcing his backswing, most likely is the height of his ball placement. So the ball placement is the point where the bowler places the ball. So you can see that he places his ball pretty low. It's around here, I think. Yeah, pretty low. So usually if a bowler wants to have a higher backswing or to generate more force on the downswing, we would just generally recommend that they place it a little bit higher. Maybe reverse it. Yeah. So probably a good height, maybe I'll use yellow instead. A good height would be probably to place it to his chest level, or maybe slightly higher around here. So place it around here, and then have the backswing, swing it to around here. Yeah. So there'll be like minimum forcing of the pull, because as long as it places it high enough, the force of the ball on the downswing should bring it up naturally to this position. And so that is the second thing. So the first thing was the early weight transfer. Second thing is the height of the ball placement. I place it just slightly higher, not too high. Like it can't be over like the shoulders here. So if it's at the shoulders here is just too high. Yeah. So probably just chest level will be enough. And maybe the third thing I was thinking, the timing of his placement. So his timing is really early. Yeah, he moves his ball really early at the beginning of the second step. So ideally, what we teach Asian bowlers or bowlers in Singapore is that to move your ball at the end of your second step. But in this case, just by raising up his, like if you raise up the bowler's ball placement, it will also delay his placement timing. So because changing feet timing is kind of difficult, it takes several months, and it's especially for a bowler that has bowled for a very long time, it's quite difficult to change the feet timing. So by changing the ball placement timing, placing it higher, hopefully it should help to delay his what we call his timing in the third step. If it's not delayed enough, then we will have to do other things. We could do other things like maybe put the ball closer into his body. If that's really close, then maybe we have to do something that has to do with the relation of when he moves his ball. So that'll be the third thing. But like I mentioned, the first thing we would change would be his let's see. So the first thing we would change in this, if a student had the same body bowling system as Michael Tang, would be his first one would be his his early weight transfer. It's difficult to write here. Yeah. So the first one will be his early weight transfer. Second will be his height of his ball placement. And then hopefully by changing both of that, his backswing becomes less tension, like less pull in his backswing. And the third one, if we have to change, will be the timing of when he moves his ball, the timing of his ball placement in relation to his speed, if the first two changes are not enough. Okay, so yeah, so I want to do a quick analysis, but in the end, it still ends up as a 20+ minute analysis. Yeah, so okay, hope you've learned something from that, and thank you very much for watching the video. See ya, guys. Have a nice day.